See, most people are getting denied on business credit applications. They have no idea that they're the ones causing it. Because it's not always your credit score that causes denials. It's what you put on the application. And look, trust me, I've been able to see this firsthand. I've been able to help investors and small business owners be able to get access to anywhere between $30,000, $70,000, $180,000, and even over $240,000 and no dog 0% interest funding. So today I'm breaking down the top biggest 7 mistakes you should never put on a business credit application, because any of these will give you an automatic denial every single time, even if everything else is perfect. All right, so let's get into it. So mistake number 1, reporting the wrong income. People often underreport their income because they want to come off conservative, or they don't put a number that their bank can actually verify. Here's what you need to know about how lenders feel about income. So when you fill out a credit card application, one of the questions that they're going to ask you is, what is your personal income? A lot of people think that's your W-2 from your job. And that's not always true. Most credit card applications are going to allow you to include your salary and your W-2 job, of course, income from your freelance job or your self-employment, investment income, rental income, dividends, interest, income from a side business, and also household income. So if you have a spouse or a partner that generates an income that also contributes to the housing expenses, oftentimes that counts too. So if you are a real estate investor that brings in $20,000 a month in rental income, you can count that. If you have a side business that generates $10,000 a month, you can include that as well. Also, let's just say that your spouse makes $75,000 a year. That income, especially if they contribute to the expenses, can also be added on as reportable income. So check this, even the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has even clarified this. You are allowed to include income you have reasonable access to. So stop leaving money on the table by only reporting your base income. So now on the flip side, this is where a lot of people get messed up by over-exaggerating. And these people put an income number that doesn't make sense. They over-exaggerate. They put a number that is not verified by the credit profile. It does not align with any of the bank accounts that they have. And then also it does not align with their spending patterns. For example, if your average monthly spend across all your accounts only show about $5,500 a month, and you put a $250,000 personal income, it's gonna raise red flags. The banks are not dumb. The bankers know exactly what to be able to look out for. The goal is accuracy and completeness. Every legitimate dollar that you earn counts, but don't fabricate numbers, because look, these lenders have ways to be able to verify income that a lot of people don't realize. Mistake number 2, listing a high-risk business type or a high-risk business industry code. See, this is where a lot of people mess up because they are not familiar with the NAICS code, the North American Industry Classification System code. And it's basically a 6-digit code that categorizes what your business does. And the banks secretly love using it to determine how risky your business is. And this is where a lot of people mess up, because when they're asked for a NAICS code, a lot of times they might make up a code, or even worse, they put a code that signifies a high-risk business. And look, if you put a high-risk business, there's going to be a good chance you get an automatic denial or even small limits if you do get approved. So you might be asking, what are considered some high-risk industries? Industries that have anything to do with cannabis or CBD, adult entertainment, cryptocurrency, gambling, firearms and ammunition. And look, I know even real estate investing. And look, if you own a business that's in one of these high-risk industries, I'm not telling you to lie. But I am telling you, if you go into one of these business credit card applications and you do put it down as one of those high-risk industries, you are going to be looked at with more scrutiny. And then look, it's probably wise to be able to approach these lenders in a very strategic way. You're going to have a plan to be able to go in, so you're not going to get automatic denied. And look, I am not telling you to lie, but I am telling you that a lot of people mislabel themselves unnecessarily. For example, if you are a real estate investor, there's a difference on how you describe yourself. If you have a property management company, if you have a real estate holding company, if you're a real estate consultant or a residential real estate investor, these all come off differently when you go to a bank. Now, you're going to be looked at differently depending on what type of description that you put on that application. Not all descriptions are going to be treated the same. So the goal is to be able to be accurate but precise. You want to use the most neutral, accurate description of what your business actually does. So make sure that your business is positioned accurately before you apply. Because what is reported on your business credit application is a reflection of your business and its entity setup. And if your business entity is set up wrong, it's going to cause an automatic denial every single time. Mistake number 3, putting 0 or a very low business revenue number. And this one kills business credit card applications constantly. When you apply for a business credit card, one of the first things that they're going to ask you is how much business revenue you made in a year. And this messes up a lot of people, especially the new business owners, because they start panicking. Because at this point, they might put 0, they put something like $250, or they might just put something that's reflected on their business bank account as the deposit at that time. Now, here's what you need to understand. Business revenue is not just the money that is cleared after all expenses. It's not just your profit. Business revenue means all the money that went through your bank account, even before expenses. It is your gross. This is before expenses, before taxes, before you pay yourself. So for example, if you're a contractor, you've generated over $80,000 this past year in new jobs, but after paying all your guys and paying all your labor, you're left with $15,000. $80,000 is your revenue, not $15,000, what you're left with. Now, if you're a wholesaler, you've moved $200,000 in contract assignments over the past year, and you're left with $30,000. Your revenue still gets reported as the gross flow, depending on your business model and structure. So now here's the other side of the mistake. There's some business owners, they're working as sole proprietors. So all their business revenue gets mixed up with all their personal finances. So when they do go to a lender and the lender asks for business revenue, they really don't know what to put because everything is all combobulated. And this is such a foundational problem. I don't care if you're a sole prop, I don't care if you have an LLC or if you have a C Corp, you must separate your personal expenses, your personal finances from your business. Meaning your business must have its own bank account separate from your personal. And any type of revenue that you get, don't let it go through your personal, let it go through your business. And if you want to pay yourself, then you could be able to transfer money from your business account to your personal. But do not, and I stress, do not have your business revenue running through your personal account. And this is why it is so important, because there are lenders out there that will approve you based on business revenue. But in order to verify that revenue, they are specifically going to need a business bank account. But if you've been running all your business revenue through your personal account, they don't see that as business revenue because it's going to a personal account, not a business account. So all that business revenue that you're generating doesn't count. You must have that business revenue come to that business account so that you are able to generate true business bank statements. I'm gonna say it again, business bank statements. See, look, what we do at TFS Funding, it's literally one of the first things that we do. We take a look at the business entity and make sure that it's set up properly. We have the right structure, we have the right NAICS code, we have the right business bank accounts, we have the right name, address, everything of the sort before we apply. Because if anything's messy or if anything doesn't look right, it's gonna cause an automatic denial. We ain't got time for that. Mistake number 4, using the wrong business address. So when applying for a business credit card, one of the things that people often overlook and underestimate the importance of is the actual business address. Because when you go to a lender, the lender wants to verify if your business is actually legitimate. If for my new LLC owners, my new business owners out there, you have a home-based business, it is okay to be able to put your home address. But here's the problem. If you have your home address as your business address, and that address is different on all your paper and applications and all your documents, that's what's going to cause automatic denials. Everything must align up perfectly. So if you have your LLC and it has your home address, you have your EIN and it has a virtual address, and your operating agreement has a different address, that's going to cause red flags. And look, if you have a home-based business, please don't fall under the trap of just getting a regular virtual address like a lot of these people talk about online. And trust, I've seen it over and over, using the wrong virtual address from like Regis or Opus. I've seen people get denied simply by using those addresses. And I'm going to die on this hill. Do not use those addresses. Do not use those companies. Because when you do go to the bank and fill out a business credit application, a banker is literally going to go on Google Maps, find your address, and look up to see what your business address looks like. And if they see a Regis, if they see a post office, if they see a iPostal, what other virtual address businesses that are out there that are really popular, a lot of times they're going to deny you. Don't fall underneath that trap. I'm trying to tell you, I'm gonna save you a lot of time. Mistake number 5, selecting the wrong employment status, especially when it comes to unemployment or self-employed without context. So when you fill out an application, this field seems pretty straightforward, right? But honestly, this is where a lot of people mess up. So what are the things that we're gonna see when we fill out an application? We're gonna see employed full-time, employed part-time, self-employed, retired, unemployed, other. And here's where people go wrong in a few different ways. Problem A, the unemployed trap. If you've left your job and went full-time entrepreneurship and you haven't had a job since, a lot of people think that they have to put unemployed on the application. I'm trying to tell you, do not do that. If your business is generating income, you are self-employed. You are the owner, you are the operator of your business. You are not unemployed. And you don't want to use the word unemployed because that screams that you do not have an income, you are not making any money, and that's going to raise a red flag and cause an automatic denial. Do not put unemployed. Now, problem B, putting self-employed and just leaving it at that. So here's the nuance. Self-employed is actually accurate if you run a business, but self-employed by itself without any context can honestly raise a flag. Depending on how new your business is, how much you claim in income, and what lender is actually looking at your application. And here's why. Self-employed income is harder to verify than W-2 income. So because when somebody comes with a W-2 income, it's typically very consistent. We're able to verify it through the W-2s. Banks oftentimes feel a lot more comfortable with that type of income. But if you're self-employed and you're still within the first 2 years of business, your income may go up and down, it's not very consistent. Now it's gonna raise a red flag, or it's higher risk when they lend out money. They're thinking, oh, am I going to be able to get this money back because their income is up and down? And also as a heads up, if your business is brand new and you're claiming $500,000, $600,000 in business revenue, it's gonna raise red flags. They're gonna scrutinize it because it's brand new. Yes, it's possible for you to be making that money, but it's not likely. Okay, so how do we fix it? First, if you're a W-2 employee, you own a business, you're applying for a personal credit card, consider listing yourself as employed based on your W-2 job. And include your total income, the income that you pay yourself from your business, then also the income that you got from your W-2 job. You don't have to flag yourself as self-employed if you actually have a W-2 job. Second, if you're fully self-employed, make sure you have a paper trail of how you're able to pay yourself. That's tax docs, bank statements, invoices. Now, these documents may not be asked for up front, but it's important to be able to have that ready if you are asked for those docs. Now, third, if you're applying for a business credit specifically, understand that how your business is structured, how you file your taxes, and how your business revenue runs through your bank account all play a factor in how self-employed raise to a lender over time. This is why I tell people prepare beforehand. Make sure your business is structured properly before you fill out an application. I'm telling you, this is going to be the difference between getting approved for $5,000 and $50,000. It's all in the preparation. Mistake number 6. Overstating your housing costs. And now this matters more than what you actually think, because if you are a renter, your debt to income ratio is not only going to determine whether you get approved or not, but it's also going to determine how much you get approved for. So if your housing expenses are inflated on the application, best believe that's going to limit how much you can get approved for, especially on your credit limits. And here's what most people misunderstand. Your rent expenses are barely ever reported on their credit report. So that's the reason why when you fill out an application, they're going to want to know what your housing situation is. Do you own? Do you rent? Do you live by yourself? Do you live with family? If you own and you have a mortgage, they're going to see that on your credit report. Now, if you rent, that's self-reported. It's true honor system. Whatever you say that you pay in rent is what they're going to take. Now, there are credit builder accounts that allow you to report your rent on your credit report, that can also boost up your scores if you have low to no credit history at all. But that's out of the scope of this video. But if you're interested in hearing more about that, comment the word credit builder below and I'll make another video about it. But anyways, here's where most people go wrong. There's two things. Here's the first one. People include utilities, insurance, and taxes. They include that in the housing expense. Don't do that. When they ask for your rent, when they ask for a housing expense, only include your rent. That's it, nothing else. And here's the second one, which is actually the bigger problem, is when people share an apartment or a house and they split the rent with a roommate, but they report the full amount. So for example, if you have a full apartment and your rent is $2,000, but you share it with the roommate and your portion is $1,000, but you still put the full $2,000. Don't do that. Just by putting the full amount, you just doubled your housing expenses and now increase your chances of looking overextended when it comes to the lenders. And look, the fix, and honestly, this is the easiest fix. If you're sharing a room, just report your portion. That's it. And now here's the final, and here's another example, and I see a lot, is if you live with family, you don't pay any rent, go ahead and put 0. Say you don't have any housing expenses. And that's totally fine, that's honest, and that's legitimate. Now, mistake number 7, applying without checking your credit report first. And honestly, this is by far the most preventable one. Most of the people apply for credit, they apply for funding without them knowing what's actually being reported on their credit report. Here's what happens. You fill out an application, it goes to underwriting, they deny you simply because there was something on your credit report that you didn't even know that was there. And the worst part about it is that you got a hard inquiry that could have been easily prevented if you looked at your credit report and found out that late payment or a charge off or a collection could have been deleted before you even applied. So here's what you should do before you actually apply. I suggest that you get a tri-merged credit report. You can go to MyScoreIQ, you can go to IdentityIQ.com. You want to pull a credit report that shows TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax lined up side by side by side. You want to look at everything. You want to make sure everything is accurate. You want to make sure that the names, addresses are consistent. I want you to review your account history and your payment history. And look, by far the most important, if you see a negative account on your credit report, best believe that when you apply, the lenders are going to see that too. So before you apply, make sure that you dispute those negative accounts beforehand. But you might be asking, Julian, why does my name and addresses need to be lined up perfectly? Why must they be consistent? A lot of times, if you have a whole bunch of inconsistencies among all the credit bureaus, it might call for a manual review. And if the lender calls for a manual review, it might take extra time. It might take extra days, even weeks. Even after that full process, they still may deny you. So before you apply, you want to make sure that your credit report is pristine. Make sure it's clean, make sure it's accurate, make sure it is consistent. And look, hold on, I know we talked about only doing 7, but I wanted to squeeze this last one in. When you apply for a business credit card or a personal credit card, one of the most important factors to determine how much you get approved for is the order, is the sequence in which you apply. So, but I get asked all the time, what should I start with? Start with the bank that knows, likes, and trusts you already, the banks that you already have a relationship with. We're talking about the OG banks. We're talking about the banks what you had when you were 12, 13 years old, or the bank that you run all your business revenue through. Those are the banks that you already have a relationship with. Those are the banks that know, like, and trust you. So if you go to that bank and apply for your first personal credit card or your first business credit card, there's a greater chance you're going to get a higher approval because that relationship is already established. Your risk profile is decreased and your approvals are going to increase. Now, if you watch this whole video, you're already ahead of 90% of all the people who are applying blindly and getting denied. So now, if you're serious about getting access to capital to invest in your next deal or to invest into marketing or for your next business, click the first link in the description, book a call, we'll come up with a customized funding plan just for you. And look, if you found this video helpful, don't stop here. Watch this next video here where I sit down with my client and we break down exactly how we was able to help them get approved for over $240,000 with under 4 hard inquiries and no tax returns. You see, look, you can click somewhere around here and look, I'll see you on the next one.